Good evening, everyone. At this time, I'm going to call the meeting to order. It's July 17th, 2012. We are here at the City Hall. This is our City Council meeting for July 17th. Our invocation this afternoon, I'd like to ask J.C. Campbell to lead us in that. If you would, please rise, and we'll follow that up with the Pledge of Allegiance to the U.S. flag.
Pray with me. Our Heavenly Father, as we gather here tonight to do the business of the city, we ask that you give the council and the mayor the wisdom and the guidance to do what is best for the citizens of Granbury. We thank you for the rain that we had yesterday. Last night, it's something that's always refreshing and something that we need. We thank you for the many blessings, Heavenly Father, and we ask that you be with all of our military who are stationed throughout the world, who are giving us the privilege of meeting as such as we are tonight. Watch over us, lead us, and guide us for these things we ask in your name. Amen.
And join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the Texas flag, please. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. You may be seated. Well, that's going to bring us to our consent agenda. Council members, you received a copy of the minutes of June 19th in your council packet. At this time, I'd entertain a motion to accept as presented. Hopefully you had a chance to review them. We have a motion by Councilman Allen. Need a second, please. Second by Mr. Hewlett. Any discussion regarding the minutes? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Moves us to the deliberation agenda. Item number 1, consider and adopt a resolution calling the general election for the city of Granbury to be held on November 6th, 2012, to elect candidates to fill place 3 and place 5 on the city council. Gentlemen, as you know, we decided some time back to move the city election to the first Tuesday to be concurrent with the rest of the elections that are taking place in our county. And at this time, we need to proceed forward with the resolution that's going to call for that general election. Entertain a motion to adopt the resolution as presented.
So moved.
We have a motion by Councilman Tyra. Need a second, please. Second by Mr. Parson. Any further discussion regarding it? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. That motion carries. Next, item number 2, consider and approve the change of the delegation of investment authority in the City of Granbury investment policy by updating the members of the investment committee and adopt a resolution providing for said amended investment policy. Council members, this is to clarify an issue that has popped up. We have the city manager / financial director all wearing one hat. In the investment policy, it states that there will be 3 individuals that control the investment policy and are the delegates for that authority. And this helps move this to where there are still going to be 3 people. Proposal inside of it is to rename the assistant financial secretary or financial director as the person in place of the financial director, and to bring the financial analyst into the mix as well. She is a certified CPA, and I believe we have a proposal that should work for the interim until such time that things need to be readjusted, and that's usually on an annual basis that this is looked at. City Manager, do you have anything to add to that for the council's behalf?
No, right now we're
Ava and I are basically handling it, but it would be better to have 3 people on the committee. And certainly Sarah is a certified public accountant, and she's very knowledgeable on the finance side. That's why we're recommending it.
So with that being said, I would entertain a motion to approve the change of delegation of the investment authority and adopt a resolution providing for it. We have a motion by Councilman Perkle. Need a second, please? Second by Mr. Hewlett. Any discussion regarding this?
Can I ask the manager, is this policy thing sort of redundant? I mean, aren't we just pretty much limited by law as to what we can invest in, and how can you handle those?
Yes, it's very limited.
I mean,
yes.
you're very limited. There's only certain, we have to go through a certain bidding process for those funds and that kind of thing. So.
Absolutely. We just wanted 3 members like we've had in the past. And it's still in all, it was all, those members were before all in the finance department, and they just continue as that.
Any other questions regarding this? All in favor of adopting the resolution and making the change in the delegation of the investment authority, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. That motion carries. Next, we have item number 3, brought to us courtesy of our council member, Mr. Hewlett. Consider and approve an ordinance regulating and providing for the use of golf carts on all city streets with a posted speed limit of 35 miles per hour or less. Councilman Hewlett, I know that you ran across this in a magazine, and it is a state law. Can you give us some explanation as to why you wanted to see this ordinance brought forward, please?
Sure, Mayor. Basically, we are starting to get populated in the city limits with our golf courses and things like that, with different golf carts traveling on such roads. And as the mayor had stated, it is legal to do this, but you also have to meet requirements. So I just basically wanted to let the people know, the citizens know, that if you are driving a golf cart, that you have to drive them on a 35-mile or less speed zone, city posted street, and also you have to meet special requirements of mirrors, lights, provide insurance, and if it's a really slow-moving golf cart, then it has to have the slow-moving vehicle. So with us starting to continue to populate the city limits with a lot of golf carts, this would just only ensure that people are abiding by the rules and regulations, and that letting them know also that it is legal to drive one. And so if you go purchase a golf cart, that there's no question that you can't drive them, but you have to meet these type of requirements. That's about it, Mayor.
All right. Any discussion regarding this from council members? Any concerns?
Good question, Mayor. Water's Edge, right there in front of, say, Catalina Bay and the island. What is supposed to be the 40-mile-an-hour zone there?
It currently is a 40-mile-per-hour zone, which would require lowering the speed limit if these people are trying to get to Walmart, per se.
Well, even if they was going to play golf.
Yeah, actually, if they were coming out of Catalina.
If they were coming out of Catalina, they would definitely have an issue turning to the right.
What would be the problem of reducing that speed all the way down through there anyway? Because you've got the theaters, you've got Walmart there to turn into, and that way they can take them all the way up there to there.
That would require another ordinance for another night. We won't be able to do that tonight.
But if we did it the way it's written up right now, it would eliminate it, and they wouldn't be able to do it.
Mayor, if I might, and I'll address the attorney here on this, but I believe it did state in there also, and correct me if I'm wrong, Stuart, that if you lived, if you were within 2 miles of the golf course, then you could drive it.
Regardless of what the speed limit.
I believe so. Is that right, Stuart?
The law the transportation code talks about golf course communities, but they don't provide a definition of what a golf course community is. And it's actually a pending Attorney General's request right now made by another city asking for the Attorney General to interpret for us what is a golf course community. The way it stands right now is in a city, you're not allowed to drive golf carts on the street unless the city passes an ordinance giving you permission to do so. And then you can only do it, the state law says you can only do it on streets that are 35 miles an hour or less. why the ordinance says what it
It
does.
it
This
didn't
ordinance-
anything about 2 miles over Stewart, and then like up in the golf course.
I mean, I can check it again, but what I remember is it referred to what's known as a golf course community. And, again, we don't know what the definition of that is.
And let me, this is more to Councilman Hewlett and to my colleagues, because I read the original ordinance that was sent to us in our packet. And when I got here today, I noticed there's been some additions to it. Specifically, I want to speak to section 12.08.003, 12.08.004, if you could follow me in those two sections. As I looked at the original ordinance, I agree that there are a lot more people in Granbury, and there are a lot more, and we have a lot of retired people, we have a lot of people that like to drive golf carts. I don't think we have an overflow of golf carts, but it is nice, especially when you see that we have two really good golf cart places here to buy nice golf carts that can outfit them with lights and our requirements. My goal coming here tonight was to see this passed, and then when I got here, I see that 12.08.004 is limiting many streets in our city, especially on 377, what I would call on the north side of 377. And so I support the original ordinance because you do need all the safety features, which is required by our ordinance. But to single out Pearl Street, Houston Street, Morgan Street, Plaza Drive, Crawford Court, Pirate Drive, North Meadows Drive, South Meadows Drive, Crossland Drive, Park Street, Autumn Ridge Drive, Deputy Larry Miller Drive, Howard Clemens Drive, Lipan Highway, North Jones Street, West Rucker Street, North Hanford Street, East Moore Street, North Hill Boulevard, South Hill Boulevard, would be somewhat, in my view, as allowing some that live in a certain part of the city to have this great privilege to drive a golf cart. But if you live over here, you can't. And I will tell you that I live close over here off of Crawford Court and that hill area, and it would be nice to be able to enjoy a drive on a golf court. And if it's legal with lights and everything, let's keep it consistent for everybody in our city. So I'm asking that we strike 12.08.004 from the ordinance and pass the original ordinance.
Well, I'd like to first go into some discussion. We don't have either one of these ordinances actually written out. This, just to enlighten you as to how this changed, the addition of 12.08.004 came about, was following a staff meeting the other day, and which we had some input from the chief of police as to his concerns. And I think we should listen to his concerns about these particular public streets. If I could call on the chief of police to come up here and give us some of your perspective as to why you felt like these particular streets need to be regulated with no golf cart traffic on them.
Sure, Mayor. First of all, the most important thing you need to remember about this law that the state passed is that this law was intended for golf communities only. That's why they passed it. It was for little residential areas that were surrounded by a golf cart, and it was intended, and the sole purpose was to let those residents drive their golf cart to and from the course, to and from the country club, to and from the pool. It was not intended to drive down highly traffic area roadways, main thoroughfares. Was not and still not intended for that use. You're talking about wanting to allow golf carts to drive down South Morgan Street, Pearl Street, and we all know how heavy the traffic is on both of those, North Houston, main thoroughfares, truck tractor rigs driving down that, ambulances driving down that. These are main thoroughfares of emergency vehicles. And you're wanting to put golf carts on these streets? That's a huge mistake. We're asking for a catastrophe to happen when we have golf carts. Residential areas are fine because that was the intended use of the law having to do with golf course communities. It was not intended to be driven on regular, high-traffic thoroughfare areas in the city.
Let me ask you a question. These are state highways. You just mentioned Pearl Street, Houston Street, Morgan Street. Wouldn't this also have to go through TxDOT for approval? You would need some sort of a secondary lane
No,
painted and striped?
No, sir, that,
No striping, no necessary.
no, not necessary.
Wow.
The problem that we have is that when the legislature passed this law, they put in the verbiage of public highway, and when they defined public highway, they defined it only as any public street. They didn't identify it as separating it from a state highway or anything else. It was any public highway, any public roadway, period. And it needed a lot of clarification, and it still needs a lot of clarification at this point. I know why they brought this. They extended it to the cities to be able to do so by ordinance, and that's for communities. And I know there's several communities down on the coast that are small towns that don't have much traffic that they really push to have this legislation pushed through. But I can tell you, this law was never intended to allow golf carts to be driven on a high-traffic roadway that emergency vehicles and semi-trucks are driving down every sinking day of the week. It's not intended that way. We have enough traffic problems as it is on these roadways, much less have to worry about golf carts driving in and out. It was not intended for that at all. It was intended for residential areas, period. And that's why those streets were put in.
Chief, have you read it or seen it?
The ordinance?
Yes.
I read the ordinance at the beginning, and then after our staff meeting, the attorney sent me a copy of, asked me to send him a list of streets that I would wanted to see taken off as being allowed, and I sent him those streets, and those are the streets that you see on.
I've never seen it, but, you know, I agree with you, like on 377 stuff, I'd hate to be going down through there with
Well, they couldn't because it's not 35 miles an hour or below.
Good, okay, so that takes care of that. But whenever you was reading it, did it say golf course community only?
On the ordinance?
Yes, sir.
Oh, no, the ordinance says city streets.
No, not ours. I'm talking about the law that you said you read.
If you read the original law that came into place, it mentions golf course residential communities. Yes, it does. And with strict, and even applies in there strict guidelines, strict rules of operations or something that are in that verbiage.
Does that mean it's got to be a gated?
No, sir, it does not.
So where does that community stop at? Yeah,
That's the problem. They've amended that law, created 3 different parts to that law. The original, they made another amendment to it that expired January of 2012, and then created another one that took place that started back over of January of 2012, and that is currently in effect now. And they added counties to be able to allow the golf carts and utility vehicles to be driven on roadways in rural areas. It's a law that really needs to be cleaned up definition-wise, and it was put out very vaguely, and that's where the problem is coming from. But they also left it up to the cities to decide how the law was going to be used. And my recommendation is that we do not allow these vehicles to be driven in high traffic areas where we have emergency vehicles, semi-trucks, and all day long. We already have traffic problems in these areas as it is. The golf carts being driven on it is going to make it worse, number one. But number two, if an accident happens between a car and a golf cart, I can tell you whoever's in the golf cart isn't going to survive. They're not meant for it. They're meant to be driven on a golf course. That's why they're called golf carts. They weren't meant for regular traffic vehicles on the roadway.
But the way these streets are separated, you can't go across 377 or 144. So they're going to be in their area anyway, right? Even with these streets closed, is what you're saying?
Okay, say that again.
Okay. You take 377.
Can you talk into the microphone a little more?
Getting too fast. Can you hear me now?
We'll put an extension on next
Yeah,
week.
that's needed. Lost my thought now, Mayor.
I'm sorry.
No, what I'm saying is, like 377, it's outlawed anyway because the speed limit.
Correct.
And 144 is the same way.
No.
It's not?
No, 144 all the way down to the light at Meadows South Meadows. From there in is 35 miles an hour.
But if they lived on the other side, they could still go there, right? They lived on the other. other words, right down past 144 towards Glen Road.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're saying up to that point, they could drive it if we passed the deal.
Up to the, if we were to,
Meadows.
if they were to pass, if you were to pass this ordinance without the restriction of them not being allowed to be on South Morgan, they could drive a golf cart all the way down past the dollar store on South Morgan. Okay, that would be insanity,
Could I?
pure insanity.
Could I add some food for thought, gentlemen? The actual, I've got a copy of the ordinance or the state law that reflects on this, and there's 2 additional items that are not included into our ordinance. One of them prohibits, actually states that on a public highway for which the posted speed limit is not more than 35 miles per hour, if the golf cart is Part A, operated during the daytime, Part B, not more than 2 miles from the location where the golf cart is usually parked and for transportation to or from a golf course. That would clear up this issue of all public streets because it would put you within a golf cart perimeter, so to speak. Because
Golf course perimeter.
yeah, a golf course perimeter.
And you're reading, am I correct, you're reading straight from the state statute?
That's correct.
If that is that is in fact correct, and I believe it is because you just read it, then I would move that we table this till this ordinance can meet state statute and be written exactly the way it should be, and then we can come back and vote on it. That's my motion.
My question would be,
I think you're confused. Golf carts are illegal in Texas on city streets except for these 2 provisions: the golf course master plan community, or a 2-mile perimeter around the golf course.
Well, that's
The ordinance you have today opens it up to all your other city streets, and so your ordinance is conformity with state law.
Okay, now help me with that because that's where I'm
In other words,
confusion.
we just can't supersede state law, but
I got you. State law says within 2 miles of the community, of the golf course,
Right.
okay, and within close proximity of where it's parked.
Yes, and master plan community, but it doesn't define what master
Yeah,
plan golf
so that way it takes the golf cart or the golf community out of it under that phrase. Okay, so again, I appreciate everything Mitch said because you do have to wonder anybody who want to get on a 4-lane highway, 2 going this way, 2 going this one with a golf cart. But I still would like to see this looked at further because I want to mention if you'll look at certain streets on here where it is clearly much safer to drive a golf cart on many of these streets than it is, because as Mitch clearly spoke, when we talk about this, I mean, you're talking about Water's Edge that goes from Walmart all the way down there, and anybody that's driven that area, they drive fast and there's a lot of traffic. So that's as dangerous as anything else. There are streets that are blocked off here, Mitch, that are actually safer to drive a golf cart because they're slower traffic. You don't have, you have a lot of turns, so you just can't get up any high speeds, not long stretches and that sort of thing. So again,
well, I can tell you, and I'm got an idea of which streets you're talking about that are on that list, but the reason those streets are on that list is because at certain times of the year, those streets do have high traffic, and it's either high traffic of school buses, which is another thing we don't even want to challenge that part of it. But that's when we had to look at the streets, I had to look and consider streets that were at, for 9 months out of the year, we're going to have a lot of school traffic on it, and I didn't want a parade of golf carts and school buses trying to get down the same street. So some of those are added on there because of that.
and I understand and appreciate what your objective is as the chief of police. As an elected official, I have somewhat to listen to you, to listen to the public, but to be fair across the board, and at the same time, do something that's reasonable. Because here's what I'm concerned about, and I appreciate everything that's been brought up by the council and by you. But we right now can drive to many cities like Austin, who has tremendous traffic situations, and Fort Worth, and they allow bicycles. In fact, you drive along, it says the bicycle may drive the full lane, if any of y'all have seen that in Fort Worth and Austin, because they're allowing this traffic to flow together and work together. And in those areas, you're right, if you have an accident, the guy on the bicycle or the ladies on the bicycle is going to be hurt. People have the right to drive a golf cart if we allow them to. And it takes reasonable means, and we want to rely upon them to be intelligent. They have to have insurance, the whole sort of thing. So we can't make everybody safe. I just want to make this as fair as possible so everybody in Granbury, if we're going to pass an ordinance to drive a golf cart, as many people on these streets can drive them. but I don't want to see them driving on 144 and some of these. So I think some of this is probably reasonable, but we should try not to restrict it in these areas that it's 35 or it's at least it's Crawford Court, Hill, those areas where there's a lot of residential people that would love to drive a golf cart to Kroger.
And I'll tell you that Crawford Court is one that you can also say the speed limit gets up to just about as much as it does on Water's Edge Drive during the day of people cutting through to get around 377. So that's another reason that that particular road.
And it's got quite a few S curves.
Well,
in
think
it.
about
Yeah.
Water's Edge, it's a straightaway, and y'all, you know the tickets you've written over there, so.
Oh, I know, and we went just as many going down Crawford Court, but at Crawford Court, you've got winding roads going through and parking lots on each side. So, you know, you've got visibility issues there as well. But we were, when we came up with the roadways, that we felt were going to be the most dangerous to the people driving the golf carts and the people on the vehicles on that roadway, and those are the ones that we put in.
And some of those little smart cars, some of those little Fiats that I see on the road now, and bicycles, they're as dangerous as a golf cart.
Oh.
If you have all those safety devices on golf carts, you know, I mean,
Bicycles have always been allowed to drive on the roadway, but here's the difference between the Fiats. The Fiats are cars.
yeah, they're faster. They're a
They're,
little more protected.
they're cars, and they're built to drive on the highway. Golf carts are built to drive on golf courses. That's the big difference.
If we follow your argument though, and I agree with some of your argument, then we're the same risk are on Water's Edge. Same risk are on Water's Edge of those golf carts.
Well, I think it's
On
fair-
Water's Edge Drive, yes.
Yeah, Water's Edge.
But Water's Edge Drive isn't listed on there because it's 40 miles an hour. It's not 35 or below.
But I'm saying that we have a lot of traffic on there. They'd be sharing traffic on Water's Edge, so that's straightaway there.
Say, Mayor,
Yes, sir.
can I ask you a question real quick? If
I'll
we
try to
went-
answer it.
If we went ahead and approved this one here, that would take in within 2 miles of the golf course.
If we add this language, we would have to add that language. I was just discussing that with the attorney. We would probably need to add that to 12.08.003, the language regarding the driving during the daytime and the language about within a 2 mile of right, but it's not spelled out in our ordinance.
It doesn't have to be.
State law.
That's
Mayor,
why
Mayor,
I'm saying it
Mayor,
should be
may I
in our
address
ordinance
Mitch?
to address
Yeah,
that.
Mayor, the Chief Whip.
Sure.
First of all, you know, the main intent of this is to allow people that own a golf cart to get to and from the golf course. No golf courses around, most of your golf courses do not allow you to trailer a golf cart up there. So if they are within the zone, the speed zones and the restricted areas where they can drive a golf cart, that's the main intent of this, is trying to get people that live out in these communities that have bought the homes near a golf course to be able to travel to a golf course on a golf cart. And just like you had mentioned earlier, you know, bicycles are on the roads. There's one bicycle I see all over Granbury. You know who it is.
I know.
You know who it is.
I know.
And I mean, there's no, it's not any more unsafe than driving a golf cart. But with the restrictions we got right here, with this the way it's spelled out, I don't have a problem with accepting this, and anybody that's on this list of no-goes, if they want to in a later date to say, hey, I would, you know, why can't I drive my golf cart, and maybe look at it in an individual case, just like what we talked about on the Water's Edge Drive where we got 40-mile-an-hour speed zone, and for the life of me, I don't know why that's stuck in there for about 2,000 feet. But it's there. Maybe it was there because of when it was there, put there, there was not a residence there. The Catalina Bay wasn't established, and the stuff across the street wasn't established. But if people are speeding up and down that road, it has to be addressed. If they're going faster than the 35 miles an hour, they need to be addressed. Don't penalize a golf cart because people choose to speed up and down through there. So with that, I'm just asking that the golf carts be established in that area and in the guidelines we got set here to be able to drive on a 35 or less speed zone. That
But-
is pretty slow.
Mayor,
Are you making that in a motion?
Please.
I'm making that in a motion to accept the said motion.
The
here.
proposed
Okay.
12.008.
I will second with an amendment because.
I've got,
Can I
hang
second with
on,
amendment?
hang on just a second.
with the ones that are addressed here.
The ones that are presented with in section 12.08.004,
Right.
adopt those in.
Because
So we have a
we
motion.
looked at those.
Hang on. Let me just get us back on track.
Okay.
We have a motion from Councilman Hewlett to accept the proposed ordinance for golf carts along with section 12.08.004, public streets where golf carts are not permitted. We have a second from Councilman Parson. So now, let's discuss it.
Yeah, and the only thing that I see, because I understand now what Mr. Hewlett's trying to get accomplished, and the only street on 12.08004 that's on that side where people would need to get to Harbor Lakes is Plaza Drive, because there's some people within 2 miles, and so if you believe in what you say, and I believe you do, then Plaza Drive would need to be on that side, because what you're doing is opening up it all on that side, because they could really get to the Harbor Lakes golf course.
In a later date, maybe that can be evaluated, looked at with other people, including the law enforcement.
Talk into your mic for me, please.
Where they see it safe to drive a golf cart. And that's all we want to do. We want to be safe, but we also, in turn, want to make sure that the people meet the restrictions to drive a golf cart.
Right. And there's not any residents on Plaza Drive.
So what I'm saying, right now, the way that you worded that everybody on that side of town could drive a golf cart to their home from Harbor Lakes and all those areas to Harbor Lakes. Everybody on that side of town except Plaza Drive, because all those other streets are included. They're not on here.
Right.
They're residential streets.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I know, but Plaza, if you come from Western Hills and places, you'd need to drive down Plaza to get to the Harbor Lakes. And now there's people in Western Hills who play golf, too.
And that may be one in the future that we want to enter into. I mean, Plaza Drive's new. I mean, we don't know what kind of problems we have there right now.
Okay. All right.
I have one more question for Mitch for the discussion here. So, Mitch, you feel good about this, the way it's written, and obviously you see we're going to be on one side of town. They're not going to be able to cross 377. In this,
Well, they won't necessarily have to be on one side of town. I mean, you can drive a golf cart in Kennon Meadows and Misty Meadows here in town between
Within the streets, right?
Houston and Hannaford. All I did was identify the high traffic streets that they didn't need to be on. It's not, if you pass the ordinance saying it's okay to do that in the city, then they can do it in any residential development, which is fine with me. I don't have an issue with people driving them in residential areas, just as long as they're not on the high traffic streets. So it's not just going to limit them to the golf course. The only thing that would limit to them at Harbor Lakes and Water's Edge would be if we stuck to the original law that said it would require them within a 2-mile radius of the golf course. But if we pass the ordinance allowing it in the city,
we're superseding that.
yes, we're superseding that, and we're allowing them to do it in the residential streets and not on the main thoroughfares.
And that brings us right back around to where I suggested we might want to consider adding that additional language to protect our citizens. I mean, we are here to protect citizens as well. I mean, I can understand people wanting to get to the golf course, but they shouldn't be golfing at night. I don't think the golf courses are open at night. So restricting it to the daytime, I think, is a good thing. Restricting it to a perimeter around a golf course is also a good thing. It specifies what area of town you're talking about. As you just heard from the chief, right now, the way it reads, any public street.
Mayor, I'm going to call the question, if you don't mind.
Any other discussion regarding this?
Where do you see the daytime area on here?
It's actually in the state statute.
I guess I missed that. I mean, what's the...
We're still discussing.
Because there are times that people would leave a golf course at dawn and probably be getting home at night.
That's a copy of the state statute as it reads. You'll read a section A and B down there. All right, we have a motion on the floor and we have a second to accept the proposed ordinance as presented along with the addendum of section 12.08.004 addressing public streets where golf carts are not permitted. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item number 4, consider and approve an ordinance amending the Public Television Channel Advisory Board to eliminate the requirement that all of the members must be residents or business owners in the city. This item was placed on here by me. I ran across an issue with our current TV board ordinance as it reads. It only allows for residents within the city limits or owners of property within the city limits to sit upon that board. We're finding very few people that are wanting to sign up for the board. As such, the quorum is not being met on every meeting. And this would broaden the entire scope of the TV board to include at least 2 more members from the county, Hood County at large. They must be residents of Hood County. There was some additional language made to the board ordinance stating that the board shall consist of 5 members from the community at large, 1 member of the city council or the mayor, whom shall serve in an ex officio capacity. All 6 members of the board shall be appointed by and serve at the pleasure of the city council. The city council shall select 1 of the 5 members of the public to serve as chairman of the board. Each member of the public appointed to the board shall be a resident of Hood County, but at no time shall a majority of the members not be residents of the city of Granbury or owners of property inside the city's corporate boundaries. That is a major change to the current ordinance, but it does open it up. Well, the board was hoping is that by opening it up to more residents of Hood County, it allows people in Day Cordova, possibly Pecan Plantation, to have some voice on what they see on our Granbury Public TV station, as well as broadening the scope of viewers onto the TV station. So with that being said, I'd entertain a motion to adopt the aforementioned ordinance as presented. We have a motion by Mr. Perkel. Needs a second, please. Second by Mr. Hewlett. Any further discussion regarding this?
Mayor, you said it's a total of 5,
It's 5 plus 1 from the city council.
and
I currently serve.
sure, and you have a vote too, right?
During the board meetings?
Uh-huh.
No, I'm an ex officio
Oh, okay.
member, so there's no vote.
But give me that number again that you said, how many could be on there from outside the city? Could all 5 of them be on there?
No, it's limited to the majority has to be from residents of the city or own property within the city.
City, okay.
Mhm.
Yep.
So it could never be more than 2,
Yep.
the way the ordinance is written. Any other discussion regarding this? All in favor of adopting the ordinance for the Public TV Advisory Board, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item number 5, this one was also brought to us by me. Discuss and consider a resolution amending the city boards and commissions policy manual. If you can think back to January 17th, we actually had discussion regarding this. The item was postponed until April, but it was never brought back before us to be considered. So I ran across this policy manual. I thought we were following it. Then I realized that it hadn't been brought back before us back in April, and that was my bad. So slap me on the head. It's been suggested that the manual should be amended to clarify that no person may serve on more than one board or commission, and item number 2 in that is that the staff shall be responsible for verifying that all applicants are eligible to serve on a specific board prior to the city council making formal appointments. One of those items, which was the staff verifying and vetting and condoning the fact that these applicants qualify for the board, is we ran across a few instances where we felt like the individual didn't quite serve the purpose of the board. For instance, the airport board, we found that we really needed somebody from an airport perspective, a pilot, somebody with some training in aviation or some past experience. And so by letting the department that that board reports to help to vet the applicants, it helps narrow the field down and we get more qualified input on the specific boards. This wasn't intended to pick on any particular persons because they serve on multiple boards. In fact, I've found 3 people in my looking into this that currently serve on 2 separate boards. But I felt like it was important enough that we get a broader spectrum from the constituents out there. It opens it up. It's not to where any one person should be serving on all the boards. It should be open to more members of the public if they qualify. And with that being said, I'll hear from anybody else.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, if you'd allow me to speak. I'd like to address what you stated about the January 17th meeting. I see that as a little bit different from my intention as I sit in this seat back in January. The fact is, when we appointed those boards, it was my thought process, and I obviously cannot speak for the council, that there was talk about that, especially when you have several people and you only have 1 or 2 positions. There was some talk that why would we allow, if we have enough people, to have that situation where you have 2 people serving on 1 person serving on 2 separate commissions or board. But I never did see that, as you stated it, as something that we asked to come back and to be voted on, because I hate to see us, from my point of view, lock this situation in when we have the discretion right now, because there may be a time when we don't have
Councilman,
enough
I just
people.
want to point out that it's in the minutes that we postponed until April.
And I can tell you about the minutes, and I appreciate that. I'm talking about what the intention was of my individual position up here as I spoke about that, and obviously the minutes were approved, but listening to what was said through the whole transcript is a different story sometimes. My point is, when I saw this placed on here, I agree with what you're trying to get done, but I'm saying this is not the way to do it. Let the council have the discretion like they have in many years past, because there may be a time when we don't have as many people. So let's don't change the policy. Let's keep it as it is. Let the current council, the future councils have that discretion, because there may be somebody who's qualified and we don't have enough people, and you serve. And specifically, I didn't know there was 3, but I knew of 2 that currently serve, and I didn't realize it until after they appointed. And when I went back and looked at those positions, it wasn't like we had 5 or 6 people for those positions. It was like one of them, it was choose these 2 people, and we chose one and realized after the fact they were on a board. I went and talked to the other person that was on that serving on that board, or that was on there for a candidate, and they said, no, that was not a big deal. The person you chose was great. So I'm not supporting the council move in that direction. Please give us some discretion in that situation.
Well, to address that issue that you just brought up, there is a Section C called Board Members. And in Part 1 of Section C, there's a section called Appointment. Under Appointment, there's 2 parts to that. Part A says appointees shall be qualified, and if you looked at your packet, you would have found these issues. Appointees shall be qualified by the city department for which the associated board shall serve prior to being appointed by the city council. Now, if you're saying to just blow this all off and not address these particular issues, you're blowing off this particular point. Part B, no appointee shall be allowed to serve on more than 1 board unless the city council shall deem it to be necessary. That's your out. So if you want somebody to serve on 2 boards, that's fine. I'm just saying let's put it in writing so that in the future there's not a question as to whether or not somebody is vetted by a city department. I could care less. They can serve on 5 boards for all I care. It's not about the individual. It's about what the city council wants to have done, and it spells it out under this appointments section. If you just look at the ordinance as it's presented, you would find this.
I see a lot of merit in what you brought up before, because you did talk about vetting the members, and I think the staff did that very thoroughly, and that's why we have the boards where we're at today. So what's the difference in what was done when you had staff vetted?
Because it's not written yet. That particular section is not written. The old policy is from 2006. The old policy manual does not address all the recent boards that we even have. If you look at the section that defines the boards, it says the city board or commission member, and then it spells out all of the boards. If you look at the 2006 manual, the policy manual, it doesn't even list all of our current boards. It needs to be updated is all I'm saying. It's a 2006 policy manual based upon boards from 2006, not 2012. There's
Mr.
two
Mayor.
areas where we're talking about making some changes.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir, Mr. Parson.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve your ordinance as presented with an addendum that says, any people serving on more than one board at this point in time are grandfathered through the expiration of the first term.
Second.
Hang on, I've got to get all that language down. So you're saying it's, your motion is to approve the ordinance as presented, however, add an addendum to grandfather existing board members until their term expires.
So the, whatever first term that they're on expires.
Did you get all of that? This is, I'm sorry, this is a resolution, I'm sorry.
Right.
So to adopt this resolution,
Adopt the resolution as is
mhm,
for the one board member. And let's grandfather whoever's on those two now.
there's
Yeah,
three
that's
board members
those
that are
three.
currently,
So whenever
multiple
their
board.
first term expires, then they're off of that one.
all right. And I got the second from Mr. Allen, is that correct, sir? Any further discussion regarding this? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen. At this time, pursuant to the Texas Open Meetings Act, Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code, the City Council may convene an executive session to deliberate regarding the following matters. I need that language, I'm sorry. We are currently in open session. I may get it before you do. Give me just a second, gentlemen. I now declare that Granbury City Council is convened in open session and that all members are present. City Council will now go into closed session pursuant to provisions of the Texas Government Code in accordance with the authority contained in the following section, 551.071, consultation with an attorney. We'll be back. At this time, we'll reconvene back into open session. There being no action taken back in executive session, we'll move down to item number 6. Consider and approve an agreement between the city and Gaffin Construction Group. We'll put that on the postponed table, and we'll address that at a future council. Need a motion to do so. We have a motion by Councilman Allen. I need a date, though. I need a date. Can we put this on to the 7th, August 7th, Councilman? So we've got a motion to postpone till August 7th. Item number 6, I still need a second. Second, Mr. Hewlett. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. That motion carries. There being no further business before this council, this meeting is adjourned.